Beautiful souls, what does the month of September 2025 hold for us, our future, and the future of our amazing planet Earth? Well, friends, September is going to be a month packed with both explosive and amazing events, major revelations, congressional and parliamentary hearings, and huge reveals as we step into, once again, a very powerful eclipse season. And the 9 vibration of endings and death of cycles. September is the double nines. We're in a 9 universal month, and we still flow in 2025 into the 9 universal year. This is once again going to bring a whole new level of awakening for at least those that are willing to open up to these energies of awakening that are going to be flowing throughout the whole month of September. So what else could we expect in the month of September? September is a very powerful eclipse month, bringing with it a whole new uptick when it comes to earthquake and volcanic activity, more sudden flooding and issues revolved around water and the waters, big shifts and changes in the economy, both good and not so good, and even big medical breakthroughs with both blood and DNA, which I will talk about in my specific predictions later on in this broadcast. Today, I'm going to break down the month of September into 3 categories. First, the numerology and how you can flow through this month of September and the very powerful 9 vibration in this 9 year. The astrological transits, along with specific visions and predictions from my team of awesome spirit guides and angels. This is my September 2025 forecast and predictions. First, before we get started, a big happy birthday goes out to our September Virgos, along with our late September Libras. And if you happen to have a birthday coming up in the near future, you are definitely going to want to check out my video, Most Powerful Day of the Year, because your birthday is exactly that, the most powerful day of the year. But that's only if you know how to take advantage of it. I will leave a link up above and down below in the description. If you have a birthday coming up, you're going to watch that video so that you can make the best out of your astrological new year. And again, a big happy birthday to all our Virgos and Libras in September. Beautiful friends, welcome to September 2025, a month of sacred endings and soulful surrender. Are you ready to surrender? Because you're going to need to in this month, because September 2025 holds a very powerful mirror up to the collective and to our individual souls, asking us all to reflect, to release, and to rise up, stepping into our power once and for all. A 9 universal month layered on top of this 9 universal year is literally a double portal of closure, encouraging us all to honor what has finally run its course in our lives, and not to do so out of loss, but to do so out of reverence. This is a cosmic deep breath before a brand new energetic cycle begins as we step into the month of October. It's time to clear the slate, friends. Clear the slate and do so with gratitude, dignity, and grace. The vibration is going to bring with it waves of emotion, unfortunately, but also fortunately, so that we can release that. Because it's also all about profound relief and release. It's the moment when we all begin to realize what we don't need to carry anymore in our lives and what has already served its purpose in our lives, whether it be old stories, karmic contacts, outdated identities, and soul ties that may even resurface for one last lesson, one final release in the month of September. And through that surrender, friends, we are going to be having this whole renewed sense of spiritual clarity and emotional liberation. Globally, this frequency could echo across the world stage with massive shifts, whether it's shifts in political resignations, social awakenings, and spiritual revelations. It may also bring with it the light. It may bring this light when it comes to global issues. It's going to shine the light very brightly on global issues that need reckoning, whether it be climate concerns, justice movements, and even truths that have been hidden. The nine's all about revealing truths, friends. And as individuals, we are called to witness the light bearers, choosing peace even when the world begins to quake and shake. This is not a time to force new beginnings, friends. Not a time to start new things. It's the exact opposite. It's the time to trust in the divine timing. Wrap up what you've already started, make peace with your past, and what you happen to clear now will become this whole new fertile ground for what blooms in 2026 and beyond. Because 2026, we step into the year of new beginnings. So use this month to forgive, to finish, to walk forward, not empty, but evolved, friends. You are not who you were. And that is the miracle of the 9 vibration. It's also a perfect time to quit a habit, whether it's a habit, an addiction, end a friendship or relationship. It's time to let go of things. So use this 9 vibration to the best of your ability. Not that it will be easy, but it'll be much easier to end things when you flow through the 9 vibration. To help you move and flow through the month of September even more so, these are the very important do's and don'ts of September 2025 and the 9 universal month. And again, we're in that 9 universal year. First thing is the do's. The first thing you want to focus on doing in the month of September is to reflect and to release. So journal, meditate, go through nature, go on a nature walk, reconnect with, your soul. That's how we do it. Connecting with nature can help you to reconnect to your soul and help you to let go. Another important do is to forgive, to heal. Offer grace to yourself or to others. Closure is more powerful than revenge is. Finish what you started and tie up some loose ends in projects, relationships, or even your financial commitments. Honor the past. The past, I always say, could be the biggest sabotage of all, especially if we don't honor the past. So it's important that you do honor the past. Celebrate how far you've come in this lifetime, even if it's not where you thought you would be. It usually isn't, and that's okay. Also, it's really important that you declutter. Use this energy of the 9 vibration to declutter things. Clean up your house, declutter things when it comes to physical, emotional, and spiritual things. It's time to lighten the load a little bit, friends. Lighten the load a little bit, or lighten the load a whole lot. And remember, it's also important to do things or be willing to do things when it comes to letting go. Again, ending a habit, an addiction, a pattern, a friendship, a relationship. These are the important do's of the 9 vibration. Now moving on to the important do nots, the don'ts of the 9 vibration. If you follow these do nots and follow all the do's, you will flow through September with ease and joy. Starting with do not start major new adventures. This is not the time to do so. The 9 vibration is about endings, not beginnings. So just wait until next month when the new cycle begins. October is the 1 universal month. Use that 1 universal month to your advantage. Another do not cling on to the old. If it's existing in your life, trust that it's not meant to follow you into the next season. Endings are a good thing. Remember, endings bring new beginnings. Clinging on to the old is just going to keep you clinging on to the same cycle. This is a time to change that cycle. Another thing you do not want to do is avoid your emotions. The 9 is about deep feeling and feeling very deeply so that you can heal completely. So don't suppress that, friends. Instead, move forward with the process. Allow those emotions. Cry if you need to cry. If you're angry, find a punching bag or go for a run or go for a walk through nature. And another important do not rush in or rush through any kind of transitions. Allow the endings to unfold naturally and intentionally. It's all about endings. And it may not be an ending that you feel comfortable with or brings up a lot of emotion, but in the long run, you'll be glad that you flowed through it and you didn't rush through these transitions at all. And lastly, do not overcommit. This is not the month to overcommit to things. Less is more when it comes to the month of September. Prioritize what truly matters this month, and you will flow through this month in the do's and don'ts with ease and with joy. Moving on to the celestial forecast for September 2025. which themes include this month: healing ends and transformational wisdom. As we enter into this month of September 2025, we are literally crossing a bridge between emotional closure and empowered responsibility. This month is drenched, and I do literally mean drenched, in wisdom, truth when it comes to the world, or truth when it comes to your own life or your own relationships. And with that wisdom, we are also being asked to balance out heart and structure, intuition and execution. With 2 eclipses, Saturn returning back into Pisces and Mars entering into this powerful Scorpio energy and water energies once again, friends, we are not only witnessing shifts, we are now becoming those shifts and a big part of those shifts. It's an amazing thing. So let's break down the key astrological alignments that will shape our inner lives and our outer world, and how you can move through this month with grace, power, and purpose, and of course, with ease and joy. The month kicks off right away with some intense and powerful energies on September 1st, when the planet Saturn retrograde enters Pisces once again. That theme is going to bring with it spiritual maturity and emotional boundaries. This return to Pisces from Saturn is literally a cosmic review of our soul lessons that we may have been avoiding for some time. You're not going to be able to avoid them anymore, friends. So, are your emotional boundaries honoring your truth? What spiritual responsibilities need more commitment in your life? A call to spiritual maturity and compassionate boundaries. Boundaries are important, friends, very important, and many people don't have them. This is a time to reflect on those. So use this energy to reflect on your responsibilities in emotional, ancestral, and karmic realms. This is literally a deep revisiting of how you show up in service without self-sacrifice. You can take advantage of this alignment by returning to therapy. Therapy is not a bad thing. I just had a friend say that to me recently, and I recommended psychotherapy, because a psychotherapist is like a therapist with a background in like life coaching, or even spiritual coaching or energetic healing. These are the things that can help you flow through this. Let go of guilt-based obligations and prioritize your soul care over people-pleasing. Being a lover, nurturer, doer, giver doesn't pay off, friends. Doesn't pay off. A lover, nurturer, doer, giver that puts everybody else first. I used to be that person, and I'm still the lover, nurturer, doer, giver. But I don't put everybody else first anymore. Now, if you have little kids, of course, you got to, put them in line. But even telling your kids that they come first, what about you? You would be no good to them if you weren't here, so you have to come first. You have to put yourself first, and of course, not in a selfish way. So this is an amazing month to use this energy to reflect on those responsibilities. And again, emotional, ancestral, and karmic realms. This is a deep revisiting of how you show up and not putting everybody else first, of course. So take advantage of this again by therapy is not a bad thing, friends. Spiritual coaching, life coaching, energetic healing, whether it's going to get some Reiki healing, or my favorite is shamanic energy work, if you can find somebody legitimate that does that. Let go of any guilt-based obligations and prioritize your soul care. And again, no more people-pleasing, friends. When it comes to on the global stage, we're likely going to begin to see in September this reform when it comes to mental health care, which is really, really important. That's why it's important, get into therapy if you need it, or psychotherapy, or get a life coach. We're going to see a lot of water-related issues, which I'll go into deeper in my predictions later on in this forecast. And we're going to see a lot of spiritual leadership stepping to the forefront. This whole leadership thing comes into play when I did an interview with Master Puma in Peru in the past few weeks. I will broadcast that interview with him in the next week or so. You're going to want to keep an eye out for it because it's a very powerful interview. And Puma talks about new leaders stepping into place, which is exactly what we need, especially spiritual leadership. So look out, friends, for the return of conversations that are more accountable. That's important too. So the energies kick in really strong as soon as we step into the month of September, on September 1st. On September 2nd, we have Mercury entering the sign of Virgo. And I am at the very end, 3.5 hours away from being a Libra. So the themes that come in with this Mercury entering Virgo on September 2nd is precision, planning, and practical thinking. Back to its ruling sign, Mercury rules over Gemini and Virgo both. Mercury empowers mental focus, attention to detail. Virgos are very detail-oriented, and integrity in communication. Clarity, your clarity is going to return. Your thoughts are going to sharpen. It's a good time for focus, especially if it means we don't have that Mercury retrograde going on that really throws us out of focus. So use this energy coming in on the 2nd to organize your mind, your messages, and your mission in this life. What is your mission? Ask yourself that. What is my mission? Excellent time for launching health services or routine-based plans. You can take advantage of this alignment September 2nd by editing or finalizing any content, contracts, communications, reorganizing your health habits. Health is going to be important. That's also in my specific predictions later in this forecast. Digital tools, paperwork, clean up your email, clean up your social media, perfect time. And speaking of intention, with intention, instead of being impulsive. Impulsive speaking is going to get you in trouble. Now, when it comes to the global stage, we're going to see technological policies, health systems, and scientific communities take the lead in grounded reform. Everything's being reformed. Everything's changing. Remember that 9-year. So misinformation, this is a good thing, misinformation can face this whole reckoning where we see the media being called out on things for their false information, or even governments being called out on things when it comes to false information. So good things flow in through the whole month of September, but also this alignment that comes in on September 2nd. On September 6th, we have Uranus retrograde beginning in the sign of Gemini, the twins. The theme along with this is going to be rebellion within the mind. Because, Uranus is the planet of change, and it's moving backward through the sign of Gemini, spotlighting mental freedom, AI, artificial intelligence, public narratives, and innovation pauses to help you to catch your breath a little bit. So you may revisit some of your past ideas, communications, or even tech platforms. On the world stage, I would tell you to expect major changes when it comes to the media again. Media, education, educational reform, and new artificial intelligence policies that are going to resurface, which we do need some of that into place. Now, how can you take advantage of this alignment? Well, first, you can reassess again your social media, your digital presence in the world, if you have a digital presence in the world, revisiting ideas that once felt too far ahead, and taking some breaths when you are having a mental overload. It's time to breathe deeply. Now, when it comes to the global stage, I would tell you to expect slowdowns or sudden pivots when it comes to tech markets, artificial intelligence regulations, and even transportation infrastructure. We're going to see a big focus on transportation infrastructure. Communication systems might also face some interruption and some major updates, almost like the Mercury retrograde, causing little technical issues and things. So be aware of that, and don't freak out when it happens. Just instead stop and just take a deep breath. Things are going to get really intense and powerful when we step into September 7th. Why? Now, not only do we have the full moon, but we also have the lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces, bringing in with it the themes of emotional awakening and soulful endings. This is no ordinary full moon, friends. It's an eclipse, a powerful eclipse, which is going to amplify its energy and this long-term impact that it's going to have on us personally and universally. The whole collective will be affected by this eclipse, of course. Emotions are going to surface that may have been buried beneath spiritual confusion or escapism. This emotional eclipse is going to bring divine closure, endings when it comes to endings around illusions, addictions, again, perfect time to quit smoking or stop an addiction or a pattern. And even emotional exhaustion may even come to light, where you finally realize these things. Globally, I would say that we are going to see spiritual leaders, artistic icons, and healthcare policies heightened very highly. September is a big month when it comes to spiritual leaders, spiritual leadership, and such. So the whole month, with all these different celestial alignments, the 9 vibration, and in turn, of course, we're going to see a lot of endings taking place. Remember, the full moon's all about letting go and getting rid of. We go from the waxing moon, which starts on the new moon, to the waning moon that starts on the full moon. And we have the lunar eclipse, which is showing us, going from darkness to light. So when it comes to the emotional eclipse, it's going to bring in this divine closure for all of us. Endings around addictions. Again, perfect time to end something, quit something, stop something. The full moon energy is going to actually help you. Now, on a global stage, again, we're going to see these spiritual leaders stepping into the forefront. We're also going to see a lot of leaders dropping out completely, which has been happening throughout the year, and I'll go into more detail about that in my specific predictions later in this forecast. Now, how do you take advantage of this full moon eclipse energy? Well, first, allow yourself to cry, friends. Allow yourself to cry, to release, and to dream. Dream big like I do. Practice water rituals or water ceremonies, forgiveness meditations, or intuitive journaling. Honor what your soul needs to end things, whatever that may be. Now, when it comes to the globe and global impact on this, of course, this is going to bring in more flooding events. Events revolved around the ocean. Medical themes could also emerge. Creative industries like film and spiritual institutions may experience endings and rebirths. We may see things in Hollywood go to an end, or one company buying another company. And really, most importantly, is some self-care. Now, a little self-care tip for you is to rest, friends. Rest. It's okay to take naps. You're probably going to want to. Rest, release, and retreat. If you have an opportunity to go to a retreat, perfect timing to do so. You're shedding layers like an onion, friends. You're shedding layers that have been clinging to your spirit for lifetimes. So you may even have some past life reflections, or know or realize that you brought some of this stuff over from past lives. Now, remember, people say, I must have been a real bad person in my past life because I'm paying for it in this life. That's not true. There's no such thing as past life karma in the way that people think it is. If there was past life karma is carrying over emotions from past lives. If we were here to fix past life karma, we would never complete our mission. We'd be constantly coming back to fix things from a past life. Remember, we're here to learn. We're here to expand. And this full moon and this eclipse is there to help you do all of the above. On September 18th, we have Mercury entering into the sign of Libra. And the theme that goes along with this is going to be this graceful communication and this harmony when it comes to solutions. So Mercury in Libra offers a more diplomatic tone. It's really ideal when it comes to negotiations. We could see negotiations with the current conflicts that are going on, negotiations with governments, and even negotiations in your own personal life. It's also about partnership talks and getting together with partnerships to work things out and balance. Remember, Libras are all about balancing things out like the scales of justice. So conversations will become a little bit more softer. Relationships become more mindful. And diplomacy and details emerge really strongly. This is a wonderful time to have this very heartfelt conversation and to do so with, grace and dignity. You could take advantage of this alignment by having a heartfelt but also, a tactful conversation with others. Evaluating fairness in your relationships. Designing something beautiful. Remember, Libras love, to do things like that. So design something. Get into something new. Design some jewelry or redesign your house or your office. Now, when it comes to a global effect, we're going to see diplomatic talks, peace accords, and legal settlements that may unfold on a global stage. Justice, equality, and balance return to the forefront. Remember, Libra is all about the scales of justice, and that's going to play out really strongly when we hit September 18th and beyond. On September 19th, we have Venus entering the sign of Virgo, and that's going to bring along with it the themes that include acts of service and this earthly devotion. Venus in Virgo calls us to love and to love with purpose, to give with intention, and to find this sacredness in the simple things, the very simple things. We can take advantage of this by organizing your finances and your investments and do so with care, committing to clean eating and this body-focused self-love. It's really important to focus on the body, mind, and spirit. That includes our health, the whole month, but especially when we get to this alignment. Helping others in very practical, grounded ways. When it comes to the global stage, health, agriculture, and environmental systems may be reevaluated as they need to be reevaluated. So expect this public emphasis when it comes to clean living, natural beauty, sustainable love, all things we need greatly on this planet, just before we step into equinox season. When we reach September 21st, we have some powerful energies flowing in, friends. Amazing, powerful energies. September 21st, we have the Virgo solar eclipse new moon. So double eclipse season. The theme of this is going to bring in sacred structure and this earthly intentions. Now, a new 6-month cycle begins right at this time. It's a time to plant our seeds and reflect on integrity, wellness, and service. Remember, there goes that wellness, the health thing again. Very, very important. It's a powerful time to reset your health, to reset your purpose and your sacred routine, whatever that may be, changing and shifting your routines. This eclipse is going to open up this whole 6-month portal for all of us to plan our intentions, especially planning your intentions rooted in service, simplicity, and soul-aligned strategy. So take advantage of this eclipse by planting your seeds, starting new things, focusing on the seeds to your future. Where is it that you want to be? Where do you see yourself in the future? New moons are all about manifesting, but this new moon's even more special, especially when the sign of Virgo is all about really being very detail-oriented when it comes to the future that you are manifesting. So take advantage of this by starting wellness routines or work projects. It's a good time to start some new things. Even though we're in a 9 vibration, the new moon helps us to start new things. Setting long-term goals rooted in discipline and devotion, and focus on real-world improvements, not being in a fantasy world, friends. And when it comes to the global stage, this eclipse is going to usher in reforms with public health, especially here in the United States with Robert F. Kennedy in charge. Keep a close eye on him. Now, job markets as well, and environmental policies. Hopefully environmental policies that don't restrict us, if you know what I mean. Now, expect there to be upgrades in the way systems support the collective and the good of the collective. It's a very powerful time, just before we step into equinox in September 22nd. Because on September 22nd, we have Mars entering Scorpio. That also happens to be my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Don't forget, the most powerful day of the year is coming up if you have a birthday coming up. Now, the themes that come in with this Mars entering Scorpio on the 22nd, power, passion, and deep transformation. Mars thrives in the sign of Scorpio. So expect surging courage, emotional intensity, and this fierce action towards healing or justice. The warrior goes deep in this alignment. This is shadow work time territory, friends. If you know about shadow work, you're going to be asked to cut away the illusions and to fight for what holds deep emotional power and purpose for you and in your life. Now, when it comes to global themes, justice, surveillance, like we're not surveilled enough. I just traveled, and the way they take your picture, and in Peru, they take your fingerprints, and it's just really creepy to me, really creepy. But we're going to see global themes around this. Justice, surveillance, and hidden agendas that are going to come to the surface, which is good. We need that. That's what the equinox is about. That's what the new moon's about, and the eclipses. It's all about bringing these hidden agendas to surface. So how do you take advantage of this time? First, try doing some shadow work. If you're not clear what that is, look it up. Look it up. Doing some shadow work through meditation or energy clearing I know I'm going to be doing a big ceremony here on this property and in my home on the 22nd, besides doing my birthday ritual, of course. But it's a very powerful time for energetic clearing and committing to the transformative projects, whatever they may be for you, including endings. Remember, we are still in that 9 vibration. So committing to transformative projects while including endings in that cycle. Following your emotional truth, even if it's intense, which it will be. But follow your emotional truth, friends. Now, when it comes to a global stage, global power structures are going to become more apparent. Hidden financial dealings are going to come to the surface, which is going to be real fun to see how many of these people in power hide their financial dealings. Even the current president of the United States and other countries. We're going to find these hidden financial dealings or even political secrets that begin to erupt. France just popped in my mind. So political secrets erupting in France and in other countries, Australia too, popped in my mind. This is a transit of both rebirth and exposure, friends. Big time exposure. So it's going to get real, friends, and exciting. So expect intensity when it comes to military, though. That's not so positive necessarily. Military, justice, and investigative topics. So see a lot of investigative topics and maybe even documentaries being released in the latter part of September. Some of the global energies to watch out for or keep an eye out for in the month of September is first humanitarian aid and spiritual reform movements that gain momentum. Big time. We may even see big benefit concerts coming to the surface, as I predicted in the past, and we did see that. We saw that even with Ozzy Osbourne right before he passed. He did that big concert. I forget how many millions he raised, but it was a lot, and he raised it, and that was a benefit concert. Him and his family didn't take a dime out of that concert, nor I don't believe anybody else that performed there. So we're going to see that as we flow through the month of September. Breakdowns and breakthroughs when it comes to public health or food industries. A lot more coming out about the food industries and how toxic our foods are. That needs to happen. Cybersecurity and tech law revisions, especially around artificial intelligence and misinformation. And I've even seen AI put out misinformation. Got to be careful with those AI systems, no matter which one you may use. Emotional awakenings around global compassion. The borders, big problems around borders and justices. And we're going to also see continued shakeups when it comes to mental health, healthcare, and the food and wellness industries. Something that needs to happen. As I predicted years ago, everything's going to collapse in order for new things to go into place. We need that. We need healthier food and healthier industries and a better healthcare industry instead of one that's focused on just money. We're going to see evolution in global tech, media, and transportation. Emotional waves that lead to spiritual healing and revelations, and of course, political and environmental restructuring under that Virgo and Scorpio energies. Now, again, how you can align with this month spiritually is journal. Journal what is ending in your life. Write it down and give it a little bit of a sacred goodbye, so long, I won't see you later, this is the end. Cleanse your home, cleanse your body. Cleanse your habits. Virgo thrives on fresh systems. Remember that. And in order to start a fresh system, we have to eliminate the old habits and the old things. Clear things out. Begin something that you want to master. Start a new subject. Not just to dabble in it, but to actually literally master it. One of the things I want to learn to master as this month flows is learning the Peruvian language, the Spanish that they speak in Peru. So, let your soul head your schedule and make this month the best you possibly can because it is a powerful, amazing month. And a little affirmation to help you through this month of September. I have 2 of them for you here, friends. You could use either one or you could use both of them. Starting with, I end with grace. I begin with clarity. I rise with power rooted in truth. Amen. Another affirmation. I honor the endings that make way for my evolution. I build with purpose, serve with humility, and walk my path with power. A beautiful tribe. Before we move on to my specific visions and predictions for September 2025 and beyond, I want to welcome you to my channel, back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT, spiritual medium for over 3 decades. If you're new here, you want accurate predictions, prophecy, truth, and great content, and you want to vibe with this awesome tribe and community that we are building here, we want you to join us. So join the tribe, smash that subscribe, the bell and all, so that you get notifications. And remember, you can catch me every Tuesday for Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time, where we talk about world events, how they may or may not relate to past predictions and prophecy, with new predictions each and every week. So if you don't see me by Wednesday, go directly to the channel to make sure you weren't mysteriously unsubscribed in some way or another. Remember, it also helps greatly the channel and your algorithms if you click that thumbs up love button. Doing so will get more content like this, whether it's from me or other channels that are similar, onto your feed. And again, it helps get this information out to others that can benefit greatly from this information and forecast. Also, you can find all my social media links down below in the description. You can find me on Spotify, what's the other one? I just drew a blank, Rumble, and all the others. So check them out down below. Follow me on those. I put short clips of my predictions on TikTok, sometimes on Instagram. So down below, you'll find all those links. And also the link to the free newsletter, where you can get everything we talk about today in writing, except for the prediction aspect. The whole forecast goes out every month in the newsletter, and it's free. And also in that newsletter is all the content that you may have missed over the past month. So be sure to sign up for that newsletter. When you do, you will get a confirmation email that you need to confirm your subscription, and make sure that you add the email address to your contacts to ensure that you get the newsletter. Always check your spam folder as well, because sometimes it could show up there. Now, shall we move on to my specific predictions and visions for September 2025. Water and flooding are going to continue to be a huge highlight this month and moving on in the next till the rest of the year, really, becoming a much stronger influence beginning on the 1st of September with the whole Saturn retrograde in Pisces. That influence really brings in that flow of water even stronger, which takes us through the whole year 2025. With water-related issues really intensifying. I see this becoming a much larger issue as we approach the latter part of September into the month of October. I see sudden storms coming out of the blue, just sudden storms just showing up, which is going to be really strange. And with that, it's going to bring, of course, severe flooding across the globe. It doesn't really matter where you are, you're going to see something going on when it comes to the waters. I also had this vision of an atmospheric river heading towards the west coast of the United States, especially from San Francisco and above. From San Francisco up. This whole atmospheric river, also hitting around Oregon. And this brings in with it rescue efforts and problems when it comes to mud and rock slides, blocking really important routes, especially routes that are along coastlines. I see floodings in parts of New Zealand, and our friends down under in Australia. In Australia, around Queensland, and the lower regions of Australia is where I see some really severe flooding going on. I remind you too, friends, we are still in the heart of hurricane, typhoon, and cyclone season. So I see flooding happening. We had quite some storms here last night and right before I got back from Peru on my trip. Because I still have to clean up. You can see where all the water brought mud down along the side of my house. My neighbor's yards got debris all over it. So I see major flooding still hitting here in Arizona, the state of Nevada, especially around Las Vegas, and throughout the east coast of the United States. I see record flooding in the southern parts of India, and of course China, as I predicted in the past, is going to continue to get pounded with floods. Floods that actually take out more bridges and other structures like dams in China. So major flooding I also see near Tokyo, Japan. And Vietnam is going to continue to get hit hard, which I predicted recently, and I haven't checked lately, but I heard earlier this week that there was a major system heading towards Vietnam, which makes sense. I think it might have hit by now. I haven't checked. I'm recording this on Friday, the 29th of August. So prayers to those folks in Vietnam. They're going to need it because I feel like they're going to continue to get hit hard. I see record amounts of mud and rock slides. And once again, this is going to end up causing a tunnel system to be closed off. Maybe even a train tunnel system be closed off, including causing a partial collapse of a tunnel system. Flooded streets I see in New York City, all the way up from Boston and into the state of Maine. And I feel that is more likely tropical related or hurricane related. Now, water related issues are going to continue, and they're going to once again be highlighted in September and beyond. Not just in the way of just flooding, but record water levels in rivers and streams, flash flooding mainly. But I also see these issues with water main breaks, water leaks. So if you have a leak, you might want to get that fixed right away so that it end up becoming a huge problem. And for some, there's even going to be septic-related issues. Your septic pipes, the pipes that go from your house out to the main system, or if you have septic in your house or what have you. And I feel there's going to be some type of concerns, likely due to flooding, with septic contaminated waters overflowing into other waters, like, say, rivers or streams, for example. And this could will call for water to be brought in to these areas and big warnings around drinking water. So I think bottled water companies are going to like this month because they're going to be selling a lot more bottled water in the month of September. And I believe this is going to be here in the States where I see the water being contaminated with septic somehow or another. I also see this in parts of Canada, and I see this around London and the United Kingdom. So when it really comes to water, nobody's really safe right now. We all need to be very vigilant and very alert to the possibilities of water-related issues when it comes to our home, our neighborhoods, the states, wherever you may reside. There will be an increase in earthquake activity as soon as we step into the month of September, especially between the windows of September 5th through September 9th. And again, another window to look for when it comes to earthquake and volcanic activity would be September 19th through the 22nd, 23rd. During that new moon and that equinox and all that, it's really going to cause a big uptick in things. Now, places of concern for earthquakes will begin with the strange uptick that's going to happen in North America, United States, and even up in Canada. Mostly small quakes. I see small quakes around New Jersey and New York hitting again. Small quakes near the Carolinas, Nevada, even around Las Vegas, Nevada, and even southern Arizona and the southern parts, maybe now down near Tucson or near the borders towards Mexico. Now, when it comes to larger earthquake warnings, I have large earthquake warnings for Baghdad, Turkey, Anchorage, Alaska, and between Chile and southern Peru. That area seemed very, very active to me when I was gazing at the map. Also, I see bigger earthquakes around Panama and an uptick once again between what was happening in Russia, which is still going. That, we had that 8 point whatever in Russia, right at that tip, and it's still very active. Not as active as it was, but I see it becoming more active again. And it's going to become really active between Russia and Japan. It's going to be really, really intense in that area. And the whole ring of fire, again, becoming more and more active. I'm more concerned when we get to the latter part of the year. Now, last month, I warned parts of Australia. And I remember some of the folks in the comments said, oh, that won't happen in those areas that I pointed to. But guess what? It did happen. And it did occur. I forget which area I pointed to, but it did. Just like I had this vision of an explosion near the coastline in Australia, that also played out in late August. So my friends down under, Australia, are still in for some small shakings in unusual areas you don't usually see earthquakes. And that's not just Australia. We're going to begin to see more and more of that. Little earthquakes eventually turning into big earthquakes, but for now, little earthquakes showing up in places that you would never expect it. So if you feel you're in a place where you don't get earthquakes and you feel this shaking, it's not the dog scratching and shaking your couch. It's probably the earth beneath you shaking a little bit. So be aware of that, and don't be afraid of that. This is the shift that's happening with Mother Earth. Now, Australia is in, again, for some small shakings in areas that will lead to bigger shakings. And I'm going to go between Brisbane, Australia, and Sydney, Australia. That jumped out at me very strongly on the map. And this may not come necessarily in September. I feel like November into December is going to be really intense with earthquakes. But September should give us a good inkling as to what we're in for in the coming months. And remember, when we step into November, we step into that very intense energy shift, Mercury retrograde, and all that. And you remember what happened during the last one. I warned every year the months to be aware of. And the last month was, late July, early August, which was really intense. Also the month of March. And lastly is going to be November. So be aware. Now, I feel this is going to begin with a really, really large shaking around Papua New Guinea. This goes back to Australia, by the way. I feel like a big shaking's coming to Papua New Guinea, and that is going to lead to the smaller shakings in the upper parts of Australia. So friends down under, be aware. Remember, don't be scared, just be prepared. Being fearful is not going to help you. Go with the flow of the shaking of the earth. Everything is shifting. Us personally, the collective, the world, and the earth. Now, for some smaller quakes, are going to rattle very unlikely and unexpected areas. And I feel that late October into November will be much more concerning when it comes to earthquakes and tsunami activity. I am especially pulled to both Alaska, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Japan. And then Turkey just popped in my mind again. So areas of great concern or even grave concern when it comes to earthquake and earthquake activity and upticks in this activity. Years ago, I predicted that there would be a return of the plague. When I made this prediction, probably many years back, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I recall people in the comments claiming, that ain't ever going to happen. The plague's been eradicated. Well, sadly, friends, this prediction has become a huge reality recently. And this is going to continue in some parts of the globe. Right here, especially in the United States. It's been happening all throughout this country. And right here in Arizona, right close to my home, right up the road in Flagstaff, Arizona, I read right before I went away to Peru that someone passed away from the plague. I also stated years ago that we would see the return of older plagues and diseases coming back, another return, aside from just the plague itself. And not that it ever really truly went away. Just seems like it has, but really it never really truly did. Because it's here again, friends. And we're going to see this uptick in these diseases and another uptick in the bird flu in the coming months. We're going to see a spike in the cost of eggs once again. So, which actually can be a good thing in this aspect. Hear me out. It can be a good thing in the aspect that more and more people are now going to want to, have their own chickens. It's actually, again, that's a good thing. Deciding to raise their own chickens, produce their own eggs, and do so on their own accord. That's what we are being pushed into, friends. Growing our own food once again, working together in communities once again. Remember, everything that's happening might not look good at first, but in the end of it all, it's all for the better in the due time. And it is much better that people start raising their own chickens or raising their own food or growing their own food and then also coming together and doing it in a community type of style. And I feel that this coming season, starting on the equinox really at the end of September on the 22nd, that's going to bring more concerns and upticks in both the bird flu and the regular flu. The regular flu and even COVID, or something similar, perhaps something a little bit new. I see something new that hits the respiratory system. China is going to be a huge concern when it comes to these outbreaks once again, and some other countries too. And I see that some countries are going to limit travel, especially in and out of China. So probably here in the United States will be one of them. But I see a limiting in travel. And a little bit of a reminder of 2020. But friends, remember me telling you it's not as serious as mass media is going to make it out to be. The winter months and the outbreaks will eventually likely slow down. But it also is going to slow down economies a little bit. Because during the winter months in the Northern Hemisphere, folks are going to decide to spend more time indoors and choose to eat out much less than they currently do. So remember, friends, keep your immune system up to par and always turn towards natural health remedies when you can. Really, really important. This is another thing that we're seeing. A breakthrough or a breakout of natural healing remedies, ones that have been suppressed for so long. So as this month and the rest of this year progresses, we're going to see more healthy remedies and natural remedies coming to the forefront. Speaking of the economy, September is going to be a month, remember, it's a 9-month of endings and death of cycles. And with this can bring some big losses when it comes to the markets, especially the stock markets, but even cryptocurrencies as well. So I see another slight increase in inflation, which thankfully will be short-lived, but a slight increase in inflation. But still, a great idea, folks, to stock up now for the coming months, as things are about to spike a bit in prices, as if they're not high enough already. And this is going to lead to a surge in the latter part of September and moving into October. So again, stock up. It's good to have things on hand now so that when the prices go up, you already have what you need. And then when they go back down again, which they will, then you can, start to purchase things again. I see continued problems with housing markets across the globe as interest rates continue to hold high, too high right now, actually. And even a small drop in the rates isn't going to help pick up the housing markets much. I see problems with housing in many United States cities. I see problems with housing in Ireland, the United Kingdom, and throughout England. And up there in Canada as well. Housing issues down under for our friends in Australia, and even, I guess I would say, New Zealand as well. And mainly in the north of Canada. I don't know why the northern part of Canada, the northern parts. Problems with housing will eventually lead to an increase in protests and people becoming angry over these housing issues, which I feel is happening already in some places, but that's going to escalate as the month progresses. While I was away in Peru working with Master Puma and many ceremonies and plant medicines, I had a couple strange visions when I was in Peru. One was a sports stadium or some type of stadium in my vision. It was literally like I was looking down on a city, and it was a pretty quick vision. But I was looking down on the city, and the stadium was left in complete rubble, completely leveled, as if it was like demolitioned. I was not really clear exactly where I was with this vision, nor how this stadium ended up in this complete demolition or being completely destroyed. I was not even clear that there was anything going on in the stadium when this happened, which hopefully there is nothing going on in the stadium when this happens. I didn't feel like necessarily there was, and hopefully there was not or will not be. So whether this is perhaps from an earthquake or even some type of an explosion or even an act of war where they, destroy a stadium, I cannot be completely clear on this. But what I can say is clear is that the stadium was completely leveled like a demolition. It was strange. And it was so clear, too. Such a very, very clear vision. The other vision I had, and really it wasn't just a vision, as much as it was a really strong feeling that I had when I was in Peru, was that something huge was happening in the state of Texas. Something huge with, a pow-pow type of an event. Likely a very mass type of shooting event of some sort. A very large pow-pow event. Which likely, to me, felt like there was at least 3 shooters involved because it felt so big to me. And I feel like there's some type of an attempt, of course, by mass media and the government to, cover up the truth of this matter. But they are going to fail completely in doing so. Remember, we are still in a time of truth, friends, and the double 9 vibrations of September, which in turn is going to bring with it a whole lot of truth. Speaking of truth, I see some type of whistleblowers coming forward. First, when it comes to the notorious Epstein files, and even the P. Diddy files, we can say are files. Wonder if he'll get off sometime soon. And those involved in these cases, including the government, which seems to wish that it all disappears. It's not going to disappear. I hate to inform the globalists, but it's not going to disappear. And I see some closure coming around government-operated UFOs and UAP activity. It's going to be government-related, not alien-related or galactic-related, but government-related. And I see a lot of disclosure around different types of galactic beings, which is really interesting because in Peru, during both of my ayahuasca journeys, actually, I was taken aboard a very large ship belonging to the Galactic Federation, something that I didn't fully believe in. Only because I take everything like a grain of salt until it's literally proven to me one way or another. It's just the way I've always been. And the fact that I was shown so much about the Galactic Federation and other galactic beings makes me feel strongly that we are going to be hearing a lot more about this in the very near future, including the Galactic Federation, which does exist. And when I stepped on the ship, it kind of reminded me of sort of like Star Wars and the bar scene. Remember that? For those that remember, kind of reminded me of that. Lots of different beings all mixing together in pure goodness. Now, I also see a lot of congressional type of hearings taking place in the near future. Not just here in the United States, but also several parliaments. Soon, it's going to be controversial, mainly because they will want to do some of these hearings behind closed doors. And people are going to begin, as we should, demanding more transparency when it comes to these secret hearings. Why are they held in secret? Why are they not telling us? What are they hiding? And some of this will come out. Spirit's showing me that now. Some of this will be recorded secretly and will be released. Of course, they'll deny it and say it's AI or something, but it will be real. So we have to keep our eyes open for that. Justice is going to become a huge focus, friends. And much controversy is going to arise around the justice systems. I also feel that we are going to see attacks on justices, including even a home invasion on somebody in the justice system, and even at least 2 justices, I believe here in the United States, but this could also ricochet into other countries. But I see at least 2 justices, important justices, maybe somebody on the Supreme Court, for example, passing away. It kind of feels a bit nefarious to me. So don't feed into the media hype or the media narratives around this. Go with your intuition. Because it kind of feels like, at least one of them is purposely being taken out, but making it look like it was natural. Keep our eyes open. In the past, I saw visions of the National Guard taking to the streets, specifically in California. And soon after, that's exactly what happened in California, if you recall. It was a big controversy in the earlier part of this year. And now we just witnessed the same thing playing out in a different kind of way in Washington, D.C. Well, this is going to continue to spread to other cities here in the United States, but not just in the States either. One instance, other countries too. One instance of the National Guard coming in is due to some type of disaster of some sort. This really kind of reminded me of Hurricane Katrina, even though Bush did a crappy job in getting people there. But it kind of reminded me of that. And a lot of times things that remind me of past events are usually related, meaning that perhaps this will be related to some type of major hurricane system or flood system that the National Guard got to go in and protect the area. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled. And I feel a lot of chaos that's coming to the Chicago area, which was in past predictions. Likely another place where the National Guard and even troops are going to take to the ground over the next month or two. Now, also, the United Kingdom and London was another place that I had this overwhelming feeling of seeing, feet on the ground. Whether, I don't know if they have National Guard or what they have there, but it looked like more than just the police. And this feels to me like it's a control tactic. Of course it is, friends. A control tactic to basically shut down protesters and protests to get that do happen to get way out of hand, and it does need to be under control. But it's also, again, a control tactic. I see problems similar happening in Australia and around parts of Ireland. Remember, the 9 vibration of September is going to bring with it a time where there are many wake-up calls for the people. Many wake-up calls. And many folks deciding to finally step into their power and speak up and speak out against government corruptions and the lies from the media and from the governments. So we are definitely in some interesting times indeed. If you get the creepy crawlies from bugs, you might want to skip this next prediction, because I see and feel that there are coming concerns with invasions of many different types of insects. We have been seeing this in China recently with mosquitoes, right? And the mosquito-borne illness. But I see large clouds of what appeared to me to be locusts and even grasshoppers, which we have, but this looked much bigger, much larger, and much larger than usual anyway, especially across the Middle East and throughout Europe. China too. China just popped in my mind as well. And this is going to cause major issues when it comes to some crops in many areas and some of the food in many areas. China is going to endure the brunt of these issues with insect infestation and outbreaks coming from insects, or even fleas, like the plague outbreak. I do feel that this whole plague outbreak will get under control eventually. Might be a year or two before it does, but I do feel like it will come under control in due time. And hopefully that won't be from Big Pharma's push, if you know what I mean. Hopefully not. Now, insect invasion will also include a sudden uptick when it comes to rodent populations. Those creepy, crawling rodents, mice, rats, especially in big cities across the globe. There's going to be this call for this basically war against the rodents. A conflict against the rodents. It's like, that's the next war. We're not fighting another country. We're fighting the rodents. And I saw a vision of people dressed up in hazmat suits going down into the sewer systems and going down into the tunnel systems to gain control over this increased rodent issue and rodent population. Kind of creepy. I don't know where these hazmat suits people were. Could be in New York City, but it could also be across the globe. Well, it will be across the globe, says the spirits. Something to keep our eyes out for. And remember, we got a lot of big rats in this neighborhood, especially come September. They'll start coming in for the winter. So you got to be prepared. And unfortunately, you got to set traps and make sure that you get that under control so that you don't end up getting some kind of bug. Remember, what was his name? What was his name that just passed away, the actor? Gene Hackman. Remember, his wife passed away, they said, from a rodent-borne disease, which is rare. She might have gotten bitten by the rodent, but I forget what the name of the disease was, but that's how she passed. And that just came to my mind. So I would say there's probably going to be an increase in that particular disease as well. So be aware and stay far away from those little creepy crawly rodents. I see problems igniting at several college campuses with major protests and clashes of students and protesters. This, of course, here in the United States anyway, will be quickly shut down, very quickly shut down. Maybe that's where they also call in National Guard, but not so much in Europe, but especially in the United Kingdom. I see problems with campuses around that area too, where I feel so much craziness is about to break out in the United Kingdom, London, and all these areas. I also had a vision of tear gas being used in what looks like to me by riot-type police. In one case, I heard pow-pows, shots being fired at a campus. And I felt that the shooter seems to be in a high place, like on a roof. So that kind of got mixed in with the protest visions. So I don't know if this is during a protest this happens. Not sure. Let's hold in the light that it does not happen. With some predictions, I'd rather they not come into fruition. I see so many problems coming to New York City. Spirit shows this to me as basically I saw a large black cloud coming in above the city of New York and darkening the daytime, literally making it appear like it was nighttime. That's how dark these clouds were, blocking out the sun completely. So I take this as being more of a metaphoric vision, but it could also be not just metaphoric, it could also be literal, meaning that a huge storm system that causes major issues for New York City. But most of it felt more metaphoric to me, like a lot of darkness coming to the city. Now, I also saw a vision of what I assume is the National Guard taking to the streets again, especially around Times Square. Because I had a clear vision of Times Square and some guys, holding, big guns in their hands. This could actually not necessarily be in September. This could actually be more around New Year's Eve due to threats during, the whole ball drop that happens in New York City. I didn't see anything bad happening. I just saw a lot of preparation, which is probably a good thing. Now, Spirit just gives me this strong feeling, like I had for California and LA in the past, that New York City is in for a long road of issues. So California is in for a long road of issues, which we already seen playing out for the past year or so. And that's going to continue for the next few years for California. But that dark cloud over New York City made me feel like they are in for a long haul of major issues. This goes back to some of my past predictions where I saw issues, and I continue to see issues that are now coming with Mexico, the United States, and the cartel. Again, I made this prediction several years ago where I actually saw cartel wars taking place. I saw visions of, military going across the border and literally bombing cartel homes or spaces. And I feel this is about to pick up with conflict. Conflict not being reported necessarily with mainstream media right away. Of course not. And I feel that this is already happening. Again, they're not telling us in mainstream media, but it's happening on a smaller scale right now. More coming arrests in the latter part of this month, going into the month of October, of important cartel members. And I know one just got caught recently when I was away, or right before I went away, but I see more of this happening. And large losses of money for the cartel due to drug seizes and big breaks in their traffic rings, causing great anger amongst the cartel families who wish to seek revenge. So I see Mexico being very resistant to the United States' desires to take out the cartel members and even family. Until they're literally, I feel they're forced somehow to do something about this problem. And I do not know if they are forced perhaps by their own people, stepping up and wanting something to be done about this. Or more likely, Mexico is being cut off somehow from important supplies, maybe tariffs, I don't know, or assistance from the United States that forces them to do something. Now, the cartel are going to get very brave in pulling very risky moves, and the Trump administration is going to get to a point where they are going to make a huge move with or likely without the help of Mexican government. And not even just Mexico. I see that this is going to be hitting Venezuela, big time Venezuela. I believe that we may go into conflict with Venezuela directly. Guatemala and several other countries that are going to become targets of the United States with this whole claim that this is being done to take out the cartel. Let's hope that that's actually the case. Because, they don't always tell us the truth about much of anything. And I cannot help but to feel that there really is something much deeper than this or to this than just the cartel. I don't know what it is. Hopefully I'll get some revelations on it in the near future. Maybe you might know what the deeper reason is or have a feeling what it is. Let us know in the comments down below. Now, when it comes to the conflicts that are happening across the globe, starting with Russia and Ukraine and the conflicts in Middle East, you don't hear much of what Israel is still continuing to do over there, but soon we will. Russia and Ukraine, that's going to intensify. We can hold in the light that there will be peace. Remember, we are in that 9 year, and there could be endings that happen. in the near future. But I see Ukraine making some really, really big moves into Russia. And I see explosions happening around Moscow and big problems. This may go back to my past prediction of seeing some type of small tactical nuke being used. I still see that same vision, so I still know that this is going to happen somewhere, whether it happens between Russia and Ukraine or whether it happens between Israel and Iran, because the Iran conflict hasn't ceased yet either. It might be quiet for now, but likely that's going to pick up in the very, very near future. And Spirit shows me a big white flag with the word false written on it, flowing in the wind, if you know what I mean. Something's coming with this flag that flies ever so falsely, giving way and giving reason to make an attack, likely against Iran. I also feel something's going on with Iran and Iraq. Iran and Turkey, actually. And Turkey somehow helping Iran. I see changes of power happening in the Middle East. And I also feel like there's going to be somebody big taken out completely. Purposely taken out, if you know what I mean, by the assassins. And I believe this is in the Middle East as well. This could be quite controversial, unexpected, and shocking to the people in the country where this happens. I see this assassination of a very important leader, not just in the Middle East, but I see another important leader being taken out. Could it be connected to the Ukraine or Russia? Potentially. Now remember, September is a 9 vibration, friends. It's about endings. So we're going to see more and more leaders dropping out of power. We just saw, somebody, what was it, the CDC here in the United States, the person in charge got fired. So they're people in power. And this is something that Master Puma, when I was in Peru, was telling us during our interview. Why we interviewed him in Peru, Dr. B and me. Keep an eye out for that interview. It's really good and really powerful interview. Puma's an amazing person to interview. Amazing stuff around health, medicine, the future of medicine, something you're going to want to watch. But this is something he said in Peru during the interview, that new leaders are going into place. New leaders stepping into power that are more about the power of the people instead of the power they hold. Really, really good times when it comes to that. Another thing that I see coming up in September is a lot of breakthroughs when it comes to the medical field, especially in diseases. New breakthroughs in diseases and the way we treat diseases and cure diseases. Not only that, I see some kind of discovery that's happening when it comes to the blood. I feel like a major discovery, and it feels more scientific than medical. Like there's a scientific, they go hand in hand, of course. But I feel like some kind of medical discovery and scientific discovery when it comes to the blood. And this will bring about, again, medical breakthroughs when it comes to many diseases, including cancers and other potential things, tumors, dementia, Alzheimer's, and many others. What was the other one? There was another one that was just in my mind. I just lost it. Guess that wasn't it. But big breakthroughs. So it's good when it comes to medical and medicine and new discoveries. And I see some kind of new discovery when it comes to DNA. And that probably goes alongside with the scientific discovery I feel happening around blood and DNA. And some kind of new system of helping with the DNA, which is interesting. This brings a memory of part of the one ayahuasca journey, not mine, but someone else's, where they saw the DNA of the family in their ayahuasca journey, and they were able to go in and take out the strain of DNA that brought so much anxiety to a family member. They would pull that out, toss it away. Very powerful. So we'll see a lot of breakthroughs when it comes to natural medicines. Big time. That's what I'm going back to Peru next year for several months to study the plant medicines. This is the direction the planet's going in. Amazing breakthroughs. Now, as creepy as AI is going to help with many of these breakthroughs too, in a positive way. The problem is defining that in which the medical community and Big Pharma wants to profit from and that in which they can't profit from. that they want to try to stop. They can try to stop whatever they want, but we're moving into a new earth, a new timeline. And it doesn't mean we're going to be picked up and moved to a different earth. The earth is right here. It exists. And the difference is those that go into the higher vibrations. Those that move into the higher vibrations, staying focused on the heart and focused on love, move into this new earth vibration, where those who refuse to do so or resist stay back in the old vibration. But it's all the same place. We're not going anywhere. It's right here on this same beautiful earth. Now, I mentioned Venezuela earlier, but I feel like lots going on with Venezuela. And I feel bad and feel a need to send lots of prayers, lots of love and light to the people of Venezuela. Because it's not the people of Venezuela, it's the corrupt government, the cartels, and everything else that's going on there. And I see some kind of major conflict breaking out. This conflict could be between the United States and Venezuela. The United States going in and deciding to, send some bombs to certain areas. This is coming. If not in September, between now and the end of this year. Another thing I saw was visions of these big drone attacks happening, which we see happening, especially between Ukraine and Russia and drone attacks. But I see something with drone attacks towards Israel. And I don't know how well their dome is going to help with the drone attacks. And I also feel like there's a new conflict breaking out somewhere in the Middle East. A totally new conflict. Who could that be with? Turkey and Greece, maybe, as I predicted in the past. It feels like a short conflict, but a sudden conflict breaking out between two countries in the Middle East. And then Spirit tells me 2 new conflicts. I'm not getting where the second one is, but one of them's definitely in the Middle East. This could have something to do with the drone attacks and drone invasions that I see. I also see a vision of a city. I don't know where I'm at. I could even be in the United States, but I see a city and I see drones coming in from the high up in the sky, as if they're being released from something way up in the sky that we don't see. Because they're not coming in, they're coming down, which is really interesting. So I'm not sure what that's about, but I get that vision now. So these are the things that I see coming in the near future. I also see more things happening with airplanes once again. I see one airplane purposely being taken down. It's a small plane, probably a private jet. They'll say it was an accident of some sort. Kind of reminds me of JFK Jr., which was on the water. So not that it's related or in the United States, but it's like on the coastline happening. And I feel like this is purposely being taken out, this plane. They're using some kind of technology to mess with the control systems of the plane to force the plane to go down. So it's not through being shot down. It's not being through that. And there must be somebody or several somebodies very, very important on this airplane, this small jet. I also see a larger crash, a very, very big larger crash. And I believe this is somewhere between Europe and the Middle East. Perhaps the plane's flying from there to there. I'm not getting how this goes down, but it feels like there's a purposeful thing around this going down. So could I even have something to do with a plane coming out of Russia with, innocent people aboard, unfortunately? Then we're going to see more incidents happening this month, in the latter part of this month, with airplanes on runways and issues with runways and issues with the towers. Once again, like the towers going out or going blank. Do not let this deter you from traveling. Remember, you still have a much, much larger chance of having an incident or accident on the roads in a vehicle than you do in an airplane. So do not ever let this deter you from flying. Flying is a wonderful thing. I continue to do so and just did so and will continue to do so. And you should too. Well, friends, that wraps it up for my September forecast and predictions. I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please do not forget to hit that thumbs up love button. It really helps the channel, helps this information get out to others, and also helps to have other content like this, predictions and forecasts, show up on your feed, whether it's from this channel or other channels. A big thank you goes out to all the supporters, whether you're a member of the YouTube platform down below, not a subscriber, but a member, a monthly supporting member. There's a difference between the two. Or whether you're a member of the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community. Couldn't do it without your love and support, and I am so grateful with infinite love and gratitude. Don't forget to sign up for the free newsletter down below. Check me out on other social media platforms. And most importantly, don't forget to catch me every Tuesday for Tuesday's Tea Time, where we talk about world events and how they may affect or have affected past predictions and prophecy, with new predictions each and every Tuesday. And I will be back on the first Tuesday of September with lots of questions that in the comments down below. So many questions to get through, which means a whole bunch of predictions. Don't miss it. And until the next time, friends, I hope you have an amazing month of September. I hope you flow through it with ease and joy. Take advantage of the do's and don'ts and the 9 vibration and all the celestial events that are happening this month. It's a powerful and amazing month. And until the next time, friends, remember to be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Let your light shine ever so brightly. And have a beautiful rest of your day and month of September. Namaste and much love, friends. Much love.